Hello and welcome to Cindershadow Gaming. I'm your host Cindershadow, and today I got a deck tech for you. Well, plain and simple, it was requested to try and do a deck tech, and it's really hard to try and make up new decks for Arena right now because the situation with Arena seems to solve itself very quickly. After reading a very lengthy test post on how to properly adjust for the matchmaker in Arena, you can kind of get a better understanding of how your matchmaking system goes. So it's easier for me now to understand how to get matches that are going to be more beneficial to show you guys how these decks can work. If you guys want to read that, that's something that you might want to look up. It's the matchmaking thing. There's a long story with that, and that in itself could be a very easily lengthy video on how the matchmaking system works for Arena. It's a very difficult version, and I've had a lot of troubles with the matchmaking just to do these deck techs. So it's now nice that I'm there. Anyway, I digress. With the way Arena goes, the one card that really still stands out to me is Goldspan Dragon. Goldspan Dragon, the fact that you can target it with anything and it makes you treasure tokens, just to me seems very busted, and it's going to break open here the more we get a different setup of spells and sets going into it. I believe the card is going to skyrocket in value, so if you have them now, I think it's already up there quite a bit, but it's going to go up even more. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't get a ban or warrant a ban very soon. Is it dominating the current meta? No, but it is. I do see it now and again. It is a win con in the Adventures deck, but what I'm bringing today is Dwarves and Dragons, and this is something I've done in the past, and it was something that DJ Vinyl originally made back when Goldspan Dragon first came out, and I think we've added a couple tools to make this up quite a bit. So for the deck tech, for the cards that I've put together, I'll probably list this down below in either in a pinned comment or in the description of this video. If you guys want to give this a go, maybe you have better ideas on what to add to this. But this is where I'm sitting right now, and I'm adding a couple things from Strixhaven that seem to slot in here in a different methodology for the way things go together. Strixhaven bringing in the lesson and learn cards, I'm not a huge fan of them because they're letting you really sideboard in things when you shouldn't be able to, but it has presented an opportunity to build around it. And we have Academic Dispute for 1 red mana. 1 red mana, this is a pretty powerful card. It is a very versatile card for an instant. Target creature blocks this turn if able. So now if you've got something on your opponent's board and you want to force the block to get rid of it, this is one way of doing it. You may have it gain reach until end of turn, so now you can target your own creature, give it reach. So this has offensive and defensive capabilities. So because of that, it's very open to what you can do with it, and then it learns. So with learn, you can either pitch a card and get a new card from your deck, or you go into your sideboard and you just bring in a few things. I got Spirit Summoning in here. I probably could swap this out for Inkling, this flying Inkling, just because it's a little bit better, or reduced to memory, but that's all white, and we're in an all red deck right now. Environmental Studies, you don't really need more than one of these in your sideboard. This, if you're running anything with Lesson and Learn, I would suggest running just one of these. One of Environmental Studies, because at 2 mana, if you get mana screwed, this lets you get that 3rd mana and lets you progress your game properly. And it gains you 2 life, so it kind of reverses the loss that you would have gained that one round, and then suddenly you have that 3rd land, and it's going to progress you forward. So I do like the Environmental Studies, although it is something, giving color fixing in any deck is very difficult. It's not a thing to take lightly. Expanded autonomy. This is something that's really good for Goldspan Dragon. You can target it, and then it almost becomes a free spell because you get that treasure token back off Goldspan Dragon, which we'll go over that. And in a couple introduction to Annihilation, you don't really want to give your opponents creatures here. But at the same time, because we're in mono red, this is more where you're going to look at the removal for certain things. So getting back to the deck, I've also running Crash Through. This lets you pitch the card to draw a card for 1 mana. It just cycles through your deck, so it kind of becomes a free spell in that sense, and it gives you trample. Certain things in here, if you get trample on it, it's going to be more effective, and you're just going to run your opponent right over. Infuriate +3/+2. Why would I run this instead of Shock? Well, you want your creatures to become bigger in this one, and hopefully you can just run them over or do more things. You want the spells, you want the quick cantrip spells to create more tokens to hit the Goldspan Dragon with, and it just can ultimately run them over very quickly. When I put this together, I thought Goldspan Dragon and Temur Battle Rage. That's the two spells that I've been thinking the whole time. I don't know if that's something that could happen in Modern. Just because Goldspan Dragon is 5 to cast, it does make it kind of slower. So that's where you look at Standard for these type of things. But Standard is such a fast format right now. It's very difficult to deal with. Magda, Brazen Outlaw. Ideally, you want to drop Magda on turn 3 once you've dropped one of your 7 Dwarves. That way, when you swing with the 7 Dwarf, they're a 3/2. You then get a token off them, one of the treasure tokens, and then you're looking at turn 4 to drop a Goldspan Dragon. That's my methodology there. Also him being Magda +1/+0 to all Dwarves. You create a treasure token. If you get 5 of those treasure tokens, you can search for an artifact or a dragon card. So once again, this gives you another way of bringing out Goldspan Dragon, or even Embercleave. If you have a big enough dwarf on the board, Embercleave could just win you the game right then and there. That's something to keep an eye on. Raking Claws gains double strike. Once again, this is another card. You can pitch it if you're needing to draw your cards, if you need to get that land. Your important thing here is to try and get 5 sources of mana by turn 4. Once you have that, you might hopefully you draw into a Goldspan Dragon and you can just run the game right over. If not, Embercleave, you've got a few targets here. 7 Dwarves, you keep throwing them down. The Dwarves keep getting bigger. It gets +1/+1 for each 7 Dwarves on the board. Unleash Fury, doubling the power of target creature. So Raking Claws and Unleash Fury, you get both of them together and you're now in for a world of hurt. Say you put down the Goldspan Dragon and you've already created a treasure token that you can then cast one of these, because Goldspan Dragon is doubling the mana value of your treasure tokens. This is like having a mini Black Lotus at instant speed. You're going to be able to do a lot of things with that mana. And Unleash Fury and Raking Claws, so now you can target your Goldspan Dragon with Unleash Fury, get that treasure token back. This is now a free cast. Once again, same thing with Raking Claws. Now you can give him double strike on top of that. So this goes from a 4/4 to an 8/8 to a 16 damage dragon. Same thing goes with the 7 Dwarves. Say you put down a Cash Fury, Infuriate, and everything like that, and then you start doubling it up and double striking it, it just is going to run people over. So now you've got Crash Few, Raking Claws, Unleash Fury, and then I'm also running Embercleave in here. So the double strike, the trample is all through this deck, and there is more than one way to really run someone over with this very quickly. Kazul's Fury. This is a great finisher early game. If you have this in your starting hand, you want to drop this turn 1 or turn 3 and save your turn 2 to be able to cast one of your dwarves and get them on board. You want to start that steam train going. And talking about steam, and Storm Kiln Artist is another thing that's in here. For 1 red and 3 generic, you get a 2/2 Dwarf Shaman. But every time you cast a sorcery or instant spell, you also create a treasure token. He attacks as a dwarf. If you have Magna on board, you get another treasure token. He gets bigger and bigger with every treasure on board. So now, if you can Unleash Fury and double him up, he just becomes that much bigger. And then if Crash Through hit or Raking Claws, he can finish the game in itself. Kazul's Fury, then you can sacrifice him and just finish the game off. Goldspan Dragon, a crazy mythic right now from Keldheim. 2 red and 3 generic. He's a 4/4 dragon with flying and haste, but every time he gets targeted by something or he attacks, you create a treasure token, and your treasure tokens create 2 mana. And that 2 mana in this deck, being able to almost free cast stuff is it's just not fair. It's not something that should be. I don't agree with this deck being able to be a thing, but it is being kept under wraps because there are decks that seem to be just slightly faster. With the addition of new stuff coming out, Seven Dwarves, we will lose once rotation comes. So it might be interesting here in the future where this may land. Hopefully cards that come out will completely flip this Goldspan Dragon on its head, and then this thing is just going to be a runaway. Embercleave, of course, if you don't know Embercleave, 2 red and 4, legendary artifact equipment, flash, the spell costs 1 less for each attacking creature you control. Well, with Magda, if you're in the middle of combat and you have 5 treasure tokens, you can then get this for free. Or if it's before combat, you can then get Goldspan Dragon for free. So we're looking at a couple things to hit the battlefield for free, and it's just going to run people over. Castle Embridge, up that damage where you can. Dwarven Mine gets you extra dwarves. If it happens to be, this isn't a big deal. And then 10 mountains. I'm running pretty low on land here. I've got 18 lands, but the Kazul's Fury is also a land, so that does kind of slot in there. Okay, well, plain and simple, this is the deck. Opening hand, it's all right. The Kazul's Fury is probably what I'm going to drop here right off the bat, just to be able to go. This is at real speed. I'm kind of thinking about it there. Yeah, the Fury is the way to do it. Really turn 1. I didn't draw into anything that's crazy at this point. So I am, by the way, recording this after. If you know, I'm not Mythic, and it's part of it. I just don't have the interest to try and get to it. You've really got to grind and work up there if you're in the Mythic to even make the top 1200, and I have no interest in it. I just don't have time to play in those tournaments, those big long tournaments. To me, it's no. So 7 Dwarves on the board. They cast, I don't even care what they're casting here at this point. We've got our Goldspan Dragon, so we're going to drop another Kazul Fury. We'll throw down the Dwarves, get in some important damage at this point. Sitting there at 17, this is an adventure deck, if I remember correctly, and I've got the tools here in the hand that I think are going to probably make this quite a difficult game for him. There is lots I can do here. He drops the Lovestruck Beast, which makes it very difficult. We get another Goldspan Dragon. So I'm like, you know what? Let's do what we can. Let's see if I can start stacking up some treasure here with the Storm Kiln, and then I can probably get a dragon out and be able to swing. My unfortunate detail is what comes next is his own dragon. That dragon is not going to play nice. He's got his own set of rules here. Being able to do things with that treasure, it's going to be very difficult for me to come up above all of this. So at this point, I'm looking at everything. I can't play Goldspan Dragon, but I'm like, wait a second. I can do something here that I'm probably going to be showing off quite a bit of the claws and stuff like that, and this is very dangerous. This is a very dangerous play that I don't think my opponent thought was going to happen. So first off, I'm like, okay, how do I do this? I want to double the creature's power, but what is the best method here? Where am I going to go? So if I do the Unleash Fury, I'm like, wait a second, I think I got to do this the other way around. I go to the Raking Claws first. Let's give it Double Strike. The Double Strike won't matter the power and toughness. So now it's got a 6. It's going to have a 6 power. 8 power because it gets bigger. I then can do Academic Dispute pretty much for free, just to try and fetch something else here to maybe get something more. There's not much more I can get here, but it is going to be a free spell because it is one. We have that. We're just going to replace it. So maybe I can go get something else. And you can see here, I don't have the full detail in there. I did switch up the lessons quite a bit, but I instantly put him to 1. This is striking distance and very dangerous. Recast the dwarves. Why not at this point? It's going to put more pressure on my opponent. And that pressure is where I want him to make the mistakes. He knows I have the introduction to Annihilation, but he doesn't realize I can't cast it, I don't think. So it's very... He's at one life, and he's got to be thinking, oh God, where is this going to go? How am I already at 1 life? This is not a good scenario. Stacking with the Goldspan Dragon, we've got the treasure token. So now he's got quite a bit of mana. He's got 2, 4, 6, 8 mana available. This is probably going to open up a little bit more that he can do. I get that 5th land, which is great. That 5th land actually lets me do something. I am able to put down the Goldspan Dragon. But, you know, that is a win con right there. If he doesn't deal with it right now, I am dead. He is dead. He would just die. So he destroys it. Well, now you give me more land, more availability for mana. This isn't a bad thing. I'm at 12 life. I'm sitting okay here. Let's just hold back. Let's see where I can go with this. It all dependent on what I draw next. I do got the other Goldspan Dragon, so if he attacks here again, we can throw it down and then swing. So I just got to get in there for 1 point of damage. It's not unheard of to be able to do this. It's something that I could probably get away with. He keeps the Lovestruck Beast just so I don't have, and so he has something to block with. And then we draw the 1 card that's going to win us the game here. Goldspan Dragon goes down. It hits the board. If he targets it with anything, I can sacrifice the Goldspan Dragon and win the game. And he's now having to use up his valuable mana, which he did hit with the Brazen Boar. And so it's like, I've got 4 mana because the Goldspan Dragon is doubling that treasure. This is just unfair advantage. I'm able to throw the dragon in his face, negating the spell and winning the game. This is just not something that I would ever think I would see. Well, that's one match of many that will come. I'm probably going to test this more out on live streaming for you guys. So it's something else we can do. And hopefully this deck does prove itself very effective, especially in the best of 1 format. And once again, thank you, DJ Vinyl, because you put this type of deck together back in Keldheim. And I'm taking it and running with it. So maybe it will turn into something more. Maybe it won't. We have to wait and see. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, if you want to help me out down below, there is memberships and Patreon links as well. This is your proud Canadian Phoenix with a deck tech. Have yourselves a great day.